What's going on, everybody? This is Afro Think Tank. White man says Chud the Builder situation is sad. And it is. It's sad all the way around, right? It's sad that a black man, a black veteran, got shot minding his own business by this domestic terrorist. It's sad that somebody like Chud the Builder can even be created, but we all saw it coming. Because the same system that disenfranchises us used people like Chud the Builder to disenfranchise us. People like Chud the Builder who are gullible enough, right? Who are just unstable enough, right? And who are suffering from a system, right? Which we suffer from, but they can't recognize that they're suffering. They're suffering in that system the same way we're suffering in, and that we together are suffering because the men in suits, the rich men in suits, put us in this situation. They direct all their energy towards who the rich man in suits tell them to direct their energy to. And so you get people like Chud the Builder, like, because of his inadequacies or whatever, he goes around like an idiot antagonizing black people to the point to where he end up in jail for attempted murder. His life is ruined, right? Because he wanted to play a racist on the internet. He wanted to play a racist on the internet, right? A lot of the internet and the algorithm has told white people, hey, you can make a bag if you go be edgy, go be kind of racist, go touch the line of racism, you know, and we'll monetize that. And it worked. Look how much support Chud the Builder get for shooting a black person in the stomach. $250,000. We live in a country where people can anonymously donate to racists. Look at all the races that got blown up. Even though the system, the overall good portions of the system is holding them accountable, the social system itself shows us every day that white people are inherently racist in this country, and they will support with their money during these hard times any white person they can live vicariously through. People donate money to Chud the Builder because they can live vicariously through him because he shot a black guy, right? But they don't actually care about Chud the Builder. They don't really care. They're just like, yeah, I support that, right? And that's the system that's been created here, right? So you got a bunch of poor, broke white men that ain't got no excuses because they supposed to, you know, they're supposed to have privilege, white privilege, and with that white privilege and all the 100 years of advantages, they still ain't shit, right? They're mid, right? They're mid. Them being mid supersedes any advantages that they had. And their mid has taken over from all advantages that their shitty ass forefathers gave them. Right now they're dealing with the fact that after starting the goddamn race first, right, having no obstacles in your way, right, that you find yourself with the same people that you thought you was better than, with the same people that had chains on their goddamn ankles while you was running down the goddamn 100 meters, right? And just when you got to the goddamn 90-meter mark, the chains released on them black folks and they still beat your ass, right? And y'all trying to process that shit, right? So you get a whole bunch of Chud the Builder won't be the last one. There's already some copycats out there. You always got the ones doing a little man on the streets. They touch and go. They touch and go. They touch and go. But we see the insecurities in them. We see them. It's obvious. And it's like, do they see that? We see it, right? Because they're not fooling anybody. They're just making a scene. They're chimping out. Because who chimped out? When you say chimping out, right? You're thinking about like how monkeys, they seem to act irrational when stimulated by outside, you know, stimuli, right? They shaking trees and they get frustrated and they're bouncing up and down. They're going hee 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 ha ha. And they're doing all these things, right? Irrational compared to what a coofed, inframed human being would, how we would react, right? But who was chimping out? He was. Who's chimping out now? White folks. They're the ones reacting viscerally. They're the ones doing irate things in the public. They're the ones screaming, hee hee hee, ah! They're the ones doing it. But Chud the Builder chimped out all the way to jail. He's the true chimp. You guys white folks look more like chimps anyway, right? They the ones that ain't got no lips. We got lips. Chimps ain't got no lips. Y'all more related than us. I mean, you know, if you want to go off aesthetics, right? But so the true chimps are these white supremacists chimping out. All right, and they're all gonna chimp their ways out of successful lives, while black folks are gonna remain human, right? Deal and tolerate what we have to deal and tolerate with, you know, pending this situation, while we watch you guys act like zoo animals. Because equality looks like oppression to you guys, because you guys have been, so used to having an advantage. So used to having the numbers. I don't even think white people have the numbers anymore. I think they're lying about the population of America. I think it's a big lie, because how can 15, they still like to say 13 every now and then. How can 13% of America's population have so much influence? How come we got so much spending power? Either our lowest 13% is super rich and super successful, which flies in the face of the things they like to say, or there's a lot more of us here than they want to admit. Right? But at some point, all that's going to come out. Anyway, you guys tell me what you think in the comment sections. Afro Think Tank, learn something, teach something. I'm out.
Okay, so the one thing about this Chud the Builder case that nobody's really talking about is that it is so sad. This is like one of the saddest things I've said. For the victim involved in the attack, so sad. But also the fact that we have to deal with this guy in American society is incredibly sad. We deal with this guy because there is a system meant to radicalize disaffected white dudes. I was a part of that system. When I grew up in the South, I was a Southern evangelical conservative. I would have been a king in 2026. But I was a part of this system that said, like, I was lost, I didn't know where I belonged, and these people said, you belong right here. And that is a great feeling of community, but then they start pumping through these beliefs that eventually I realized my values didn't align with. This was not who I actually was. This is who I was being told to be. And I got lucky that I recognized that, because when I moved out of my hometown, I had a job where I was traveling a lot. I was walking doors every day. So I started listening to podcasts, and there were not a lot of conservative podcasts. I used to listen to conservative talk radio when I would drive because it was just nice to have something on. My dad, growing up, a lot of your dads were a part of this conservative white dude ecosystem where, like, my dad's biggest friends were Rush Limbaugh and Sean Hannity and sometimes Glenn Beck. They are isolated for their beliefs, and then the people in the sphere pushing those beliefs try to build community around you. And it holds you. And that's obviously what's happened to Chud. This is just a guy named Dalton from Tennessee who didn't know where he belonged and got locked into this like free speech warrior thing. And they don't even understand free speech. Like when I started listening to podcasts, we at least like didn't have this conservative pod. It was not mainstream. Like I listened to Harmontown from Dan Harmon from Community, and I listened to Radio Lab from NPR, where it was just stories about science and technology. Like just inherently, I was exposed to more non-conservative ideas, and it made me realize like, oh, I kind of relate to a lot of these things a lot more than I thought I did. And then I learned more about the Supreme Court. I learned like all of these different like just educational things, and now podcasts are the total opposite. Now they've become conservative talk radio. Now the top 25 podcasts, 15 of them are conservative, 5 of them are irreverent and funny, and the other 5 might have a little leftist lean to it. But that's the world that we're living in right now. And it is so sad to look at society in America becoming this thing from like the top down, right? From Fox News to Joe Rogan to all of the manosphere to the Paul brothers, and then into like these other streams. They're like, it's free speech. They have no idea what they're talking about because they've only been exposed to these ideas from other people just like them. And that's how the system works. And eventually the narrative's going to have to change. But we are in a deep valley of a depression right now for cultural competency and education. And as a former teacher, what a bummer.
Fuck them. Again. Fuck them. Them and you is not friend. Fuck them. Them no need to be in your life. So why you making them cause you nothing but trouble and strife? Fuck them.
Free Sudan. Boycott diamonds and gold. Free Sudan. Boycott diamonds and gold. We most definitely cannot forget about the people of Sudan.
Thanks for watching Afro Think Tank. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. And follow me on Substack and Patreon for more content. Remember, it's Pan-Africanism or nothing.